Okay, the biggest driver in accounting firm efficiency is nailing that tech stack, but it is fraught with traps, with charlatans trying to say the wrong thing. So today we're digging into the 8 most common mistakes I see accounting firms make, but you're better than that, okay? Not you. Number 1, starting with the wrong tech. It's really easy to fixate on a cool thing that we really like, something that feels novel, but every firm tech stack needs to start with the practice management system. And that's because in a perfect world, we would have a single tool that did absolutely everything for our firm, right? Wouldn't that be nice? It's not gonna happen, but we do want it to do as much as it can do, right? And so you don't know what you actually need until you land on your PM. You start with that practice management system, the backbone of your firm, and then you plug in all the stuff that it doesn't really do well. Now, there's certain things that you will have to plug in that are super core to your most time-consuming workflows, tax prep, month-end closes, that sort of thing. So plan on bolting in other tools, but you gotta start with the PM. Number 2, don't make the mistake of buying on integrations. And the most guilty culprits here are tax software vendors who will say, well, our firm efficiency platform is the only one that integrates with your tax software. And you're like, what? That's a compelling point. I guess that means that's the only one that I can buy. Bad news though, you just pull back the curtain on that a bit, get a look at that tool. No amount of integrations is gonna make a bad tool a good tool. Don't get me wrong, integrations are great, but more important than integrations are, does that tool do the job well? Which brings me to the third biggest mistake people make is the over-avoidance of manual tasks. I know, I don't like manual tasks any more than the next guy, okay? I'm big time automation nerd. This channel started as Zapier no-code automations for accountants. So trust me, I am just as allergic as the next person to manual tasks. But having to manually sync data between 2 different systems, that is just one part of how much work do these tools take off of our plate. Let me give you an example for tax firms and for bookkeeping firms right now. For tax firms, while everyone needs to have a practice management system as the nougat core of your firm, none of those practice management systems do a good enough version of tax intake right now. If you're a US firm and you do any 1040s, we now have dedicated tax intake tools that automate document collection across, thousands, as many returns as you want. And they've gotten so good in the last year or 2, you cannot afford to not use them. But your practice management system, well, they have organizers. I don't need that tax intake tool. I got one over here. And then I don't have to sync any data back and forth. Meanwhile, the dedicated tool that does it way better, that's gonna save you 1,000 hours over the next year, yes, will it create some syncing issues where maybe I gotta move stuff from here to there? It might, but the good news is you've got 1,000 hours now to do that syncing. And again, I don't wanna have to do anything I don't have to, but this is solvable. This is a system. Anytime this happens, we gotta take this, put it over here. I wish that wasn't the case. There's stuff like Zapier, RPA, all sorts of things we can do to make that less of a problem. But bigger picture, we gotta look at total inputs. If this tool's gonna save me a pile of time, even if it doesn't integrate, I need to take a serious look at it. Bookkeeping firms, best example of this right now is probably the tool Keeper, which does some really cool month-end automation stuff. It is incredibly deeply integrated with the accounting ledger to automate quality assurance and a whole bunch of different things, much more so than any traditional practice management system. But a practice management system that does uncategorized expenses, if you listen to probably what those sales reps will tell you, you're gonna be like, oh no, that's a good enough version for me, thanks. Meanwhile, the dedicated tool to get that work done is gonna save you an absurd amount of time. Does it suck that you have to juggle data in one more system now? It sure does, but that's where we build systems to close the gap there. Don't let your resistance to manual processes get in the way of making the right decision for your firm. Number 4, and this is biggie, relying exclusively on salespeople. It's amazing how trusting we are of the sales reps you talk to at a conference, you talk to on the phone after a demo. Hey, does it do this? Yep. Hey, will it do this? It's on the roadmap. You realize how those people get paid, right? This ought to go without saying, but many of us, those salespeople are actually the only connection we have to the tech ecosystem. And especially as, I would argue generationally, now firms are more connected than they've ever been before, and they're not competitive and they're not trying to outdo each other. There's so much work to go around. They're now sharing experiences with each other. You have people dropping stuff in comments to videos like this that could save you making the wrong decision on an important tech platform that could waste years of productivity. So in the past, in fact, I made this mistake. I didn't know anybody. Like I didn't have anyone that I could ask. So I would go to the salesperson and they would give me an answer. And I'd be like, okay, well it may not be the truth, but it's the truthiest truth I have access to. These days, man, go out and post on social media. Post on a comment to this video. Go join an accountant community where you will get access to other accounting pros like you, because let you in on a secret. Anything that you're considering right now, somebody else has already done, and they can tell you what works, what doesn't work, and probably shave a whole bunch of time off the learning process. Or, no, I'm sure you got a salesperson that's totally honest. No conflict there at all. Okay, number 5, burning out the team. Oh, I've been guilty of this one before. Are you change management blocked? I mean, almost every small firm that I talk to, especially the ones with like manic sort of visionary owners like myself, who definitely suffer from squirrel syndrome, your team is probably like, chill out, bro. We just changed some other stuff. Let us catch our breath a little bit. We're accountants. We're generally not excited by change. And this is obviously made way worse by not making the right tech decisions. And a lot of the things we're talking about today are going to help you avoid that, the whiplash of going down the wrong path and changing over here instead. But it's also made worse by not involving the team. By watching a video or something like that, returning from a conference and being like, gang, we're doing this. I want you to have it done by next month. That is hardly a way to get buy-in. The better way is to pull people into the process as soon as possible. Help them come to the final decision. What I would do is I would bring like, kind of 3 potential solutions, make sure everybody was on the same page about what are the problems we're actually trying to solve, and cut them loose and gives them some agency over the process. And for them, it reframed the whole thing as an opportunity for them to speak into the future of the firm. Like that agency completely changes their level of motivation to get involved in the process. Now, if you're really struggling with accountants that are change averse, this gets way easier when you have made a couple of hires that can be fueled and energized by change. Most people are either wired that way or they're not. It's something to be thinking about as you're hiring, because even just a couple of people, like you not having to bring all of the energy to that every single day will make a world of difference. Even just a couple of people that can help you with that will take so much weight off your shoulders. Okay, number 6, picking the wrong tool for the job. And the most common version of this actually is trying to get your practice management system to do something that it just fundamentally won't do. Talked about a couple examples of this. Tax intake is one of those things where the standalone tools have gotten so good that they cannot be ignored. I wouldn't have said this 12 months ago. And before that, it was, no, not at all. Like before 12 to 24 months ago, what practice management systems do was workflow. That was the ceiling. That was as good as workflow was. Now we have a new crop of tools that are redefining how good workflow can be. But our resistance to adding another tool, something that doesn't integrate, our resistance to that means we're doing a bunch of stuff manually that doesn't need to be manual anymore. 3 biggest examples here: tax intake, month-end close automation, and optimizing proposals. Proposals are something more PMs have started wading into a little bit, but a standalone proposal tool that will nail this for you, arguably, there is nothing that will have a greater profit impact on your firm than nailing your proposals. Think about it. You're going into year-end renewals right now. Those renewals will set the profitability of your firm for the next 12 months. We've been talking a lot about this on the pod, how to optimize those, because any little bit you can squeak out of that by optimizing it, that's money that you're not just making next year, but that's the new floor for the following year. And relying on a half-baked proposal implementation, whether it's from your PM or anything else, that's gonna literally cost you money, right? 2 more to go. Number 7, you're probably already doing the numbers now. Software sticker shock. Okay, this guy's telling me that I gotta buy a tool for every little time somebody lifts a finger in my firm, we're gonna need a new tool to optimize that thing. Software costs in accounting firms are changing. It is definitely not what it used to be. Whatever percentage you used to think was the norm is no longer the case. But you know what? The tech that we have got is doing more than ever before. It's going to continue doing that thanks to AI. And you've got a choice to either like get on that bus or not. Now, one trap here is thinking about software spend in aggregate, like across all of the stuff that we do in the entire firm. And that number is, frankly, is probably going to feel astronomical compared to say 10, 20 years ago. What we instead need to be doing is looking more on an engagement by engagement basis, because most of our deep like core workflow tools, so not the PM, I'm talking tax intake, month-end close, most of those are now priced per engagement or per client. And the sad truth is right now, the best solutions have priced out part of the accounting firm market, because a $100 tax return, a $100 month-end close, versus a $10,000 tax return or a $10,000 month-end close, your software cost on that, it's largely fixed. Just in the way our workflow tools are priced today, where it's per engagement, that doesn't get any more expensive as you're able to command more premium rates from clients. And so if you're at the low end of that spectrum, that sucks, like it really does. That's a really tough spot to find yourself. But know that as you grow and as you gain more leverage and can command higher rates, it's all gravy. That's your gravy. And this is maybe the most important takeaway here is if you don't invest in that software, you can see a situation where you're kind of stuck. It slows you down because you're not able to pull in the tools to help you automate work. And so the number of projects you're doing, like those things take longer. You're not serving as many clients. And so maybe the most important takeaway here is, will that tool actually accelerate me down the path from being a $100 firm to being a $10,000 firm? Swap in whatever number you want, that doesn't matter. But will software actually accelerate my path down the value spectrum? If it does, it's probably an investment worth making. Last, number 8, analysis paralysis. Buddy, it is real. Like, these feel like big decisions. What if we get it wrong? Oh my gosh, are we gonna waste years of time and money and all that? There's an irresponsible way to go into this, and then there's a responsible way to go into this. There's more social proof available to you now than ever before. That is, you can ask other firms. You can see what actually works and what doesn't work. You need to be hyper aware of incentives. If you're asking an implementer who makes their money on doing implementations, not a totally independent person, right? If you are asking a salesperson who's commissioned on actually closing the deal, no, those are not independent people, right? If you're listening to an influencer who takes affiliate money from that brand, probably not super independent. I don't take affiliates on anything. I do sponsorships with brands I reach out to. So I recommend the brand and then I go out and I ask them to come do sponsorships because I think that's different. You can make an argument it isn't, but I digress. Go out and get that social proof. In fact, find a way to be able to get to social proof as quickly as possible. That's why I created an accountant community for just this sort of thing. And then decide, make a commitment. Now, right now, we're at the latter part of the year, after the extended deadline. In my opinion, the best time to make tech change, this is a generalization for US tax firms, is after the April deadline. But does that mean that I should not change anything now and wait until then? I would say no. Even though this is not the best time, if you don't change now, what you miss out on is everything you would have learned in the meantime. Because if you change now, the questions you're gonna ask next April and May as a result will be better questions, more valuable questions. You'll be ahead of where you otherwise would have been. Now, one of the coolest new tech platforms of the last couple of years, drum roll please, it's Makers Hub. Roll the music, sponsor of today's video. Makers Hub's a great example of where tech is unlocking things that we were not able to do before. They are a bill pay solution, but they're using AI vision models to automate more of the process than we ever could have done in the past. I had clients who genuinely, this would have removed FTEs worth of work from what we did because they had like gnarly receiving stuff, inventory. Makers Hub, it pulls all that stuff, all that line item detail with a level of accuracy that was never before possible. They're using language models, they're using vision models, and those models even train themselves. Like every time you change something or fix something, that feedback goes back into your specific instance so that it doesn't make that mistake again. Some cool stuff they've shipped recently. They've been some busy beavers over there. Actually, if you follow them on LinkedIn, there's all sorts of new stuff coming through. They're now processing bills from the body of emails, so you can point emails directly to them and they'll pull them out of the body instead of the attachment. You can mark a bill item as distributable. So in this case, you've got packaging materials. I just want to allocate that across all the other items. You mark that once, and every single time that bill comes through then, future months, it'll do that automatically. And they made a bunch of improvements around W-9 management because you know you can do it better, okay? Stop going out and getting W-9s on January 20th. You're better than that. I'm better. Learn more about Makers Hub. Check out the link down in the video description. Now, I'm gonna leave you with the 2 most useful videos for choosing the right tech for tax firms and for bookkeeping firms. My recommended platforms, independent recommendations. Whole lot of people not on those lists for a reason. It's the best stuff that I'd be using to run my firm today. Go check it out. Super cool stuff in there.